You ever hear of snow tractors that practically conquered blizzards and ruled backwoods trails during the 1900s? Well, these ingenious machines turned impassable snow-packed roads into highways, and a few of them never quite got the spotlight they deserved. Well, today, we're going to dive into 5 American snow tractors that you probably didn't know about, each with a quirky past, a hefty dose of nostalgia, and a track record of trudging through winter like it's nothing. Let's jump right in. Number 5, the Antarctic Snow Cruiser. Of all the American engineering projects aimed at taming the most hostile environments, few stir the imagination quite like the Antarctic Snow Cruiser. Built in 1939 by the Pullman Company under the direction of Dr. Thomas Poulter, this massive futuristically designed vehicle was intended for Admiral Richard Byrd's United States Antarctic Service expedition. Nicknamed the Penguin, or simply the Snow Cruiser, it measured about 55 feet in length and weighed over 30 tons. At first glance, the sleek rounded shape and oversized smooth tires look more like something from a sci-fi comic than a traditional tractor. The driving concept behind the Snow Cruiser was pretty simple: provide researchers with a mobile base that could traverse the toughest ice and snow on Earth. The entire top deck was meant to carry a small airplane for aerial surveying, while the interior offered a sleeping quarters, storage, and workspace for scientific missions. Mechanically, it used diesel-electric drive, a bold choice for the time. Diesel engines generated power for electric motors that drove each wheel independently. This design allowed for precise control, a crucial element when navigating hidden crevices. Now, however, reality proved far harsher than the dream. Despite the hype, the Snow Cruiser famously struggled in Antarctic conditions. Its smooth, treadless tires lacked the grip needed on slick ice, and the vehicle often had to drive in reverse for better traction. Crews attempted fixes, including adding chains to the tires and weighting the front end, but they never achieved the unstoppable mobility that they envisioned. When World War II erupted, the Snow Cruiser project lost priority. It was left behind in Antarctica, eventually buried by drifting snow, and then rediscovered briefly in later expeditions before disappearing again into the ice. Culturally, the Antarctic Snow Cruiser still resonates as an icon of ambitious American innovation from that era. It was featured in newsreels and magazine articles, capturing the public's attention as a bold leap forward in polar exploration. In many ways, it demonstrated the optimism of the 30s and 40s in America. That technology could really conquer just about anything, including the frozen unknown. Yet it also highlighted the perils of underestimating nature's extremes. The Snow Cruiser might have been more at home in a climate-controlled laboratory than on an ice shelf in sub-zero winds. Now, while this project didn't live up to its original goal, it still nonetheless left a legacy, spurring future designers to think bigger, test more thoroughly, and prepare for conditions that no blueprint alone could predict. Modern polar vehicles, far more successful and proven, owe a tip of the hat to the sheer audacity of Dr. Poulter and his team. Long after it vanished under the Antarctic snow, the Snow Cruiser remains a compelling chapter in American engineering lore, reminding us that sometimes even the most imaginative ideas can buckle under nature's brute force. Number 4, the Christy Snowcat. Now, if you've ever admired a Tucker Snowcat or a Theacol rig, then the lesser-known Christy Snowcat may pique your interest. Manufactured in Colorado during the mid-1950s to late 60s, Christy Snowcats emerged from the workshop of inventor Armand E. Langelier, who believed that there was room in the market for a versatile, maneuverable, American-made snow tractor that could tackle everything from backcountry rescue missions to routine winter chores. Though Christy never quite achieved Tucker's level of fame, its distinctive style and spirited approach earned it a loyal following among enthusiasts. The Christy Snowcat typically featured a fully enclosed cab and was powerful by a modest gasoline engine. One of the signature innovations was its unique reversible track design on some models, allowing operators to adjust the track frames for better traction or maneuverability in varying snow conditions. Some versions used the front ski for steering, while others had small steerable wheels, aiming to provide a smoother ride on patchy or packed snow. Although not huge, these machines did often have room for a small crew and basic cargo, just enough to be practical for a rancher, utility worker, or local fire department in snowy regions. One Christy hallmark was its lightweight build, which gave it a notable advantage when traversing fresh powder. Where heavier vehicles might bog down a bit, a well-tuned Christy could glide across drifts without sinking in too deep. This low-impact footprint made it a favorite for individuals that needed to navigate winter roads or mountain paths where full-size snowplows couldn't go. In reality, if your driveway was a mile long through rolling hills, you may have dreamed of owning a Christy to tackle those early morning runs. Culturally, the Christy Snowcat slots right into a bygone age of American ingenuity, when independent companies could spring up to address niche demands. While larger manufacturers cornered the big contracts, like a government expedition or large-scale infrastructure project, Christy found its place among everyday folks who needed a dependable winter vehicle that wouldn't break the bank. And in that sense, it stood for the best of mid-century American industriousness. Solve a practical problem with clever engineering, build it tough, and keep it accessible. Despite the initial excitement, Christy struggled to compete in a market that was dominated by bigger names and deeper pockets. By the late 60s, the brand was on the decline, and today, original Christy Snowcats remain collector's items, especially among those who appreciate obscure machinery. Restoration can be a labor of love, as parts aren't readily available as those for more common Snowcats. But still, dedicated owners and a small online community keep these machines running and keep the Christy legend alive. At the end of the day, the Christy Snowcat serves as a testament to homegrown American determination in the face of winter's icy fury. It may never have achieved the worldwide acclaim of certain competitors, but it made its mark by proving that even a smaller, independent outfit could build a snow tractor worthy of tough American winters. Number 3, the Theacol Imp. Now, if you ever visited a ski resort, chances are you've glimpsed at a distant cousin of the Theacol Imp smoothing the slopes or hauling supplies on the steep backcountry service route. The Theacol Chemical Corporation, originally more famous for its rocket propellants, pivoted into snow vehicle production in the mid-20th century, around the 50s and 60s. They developed a range of small, maneuverable snowcats under the name Theacol. The Imp quickly became their star player. Compact and sturdy, the Imp could seat a few passengers and carry gear in its small cargo area. Beneath the bright exterior was a robust mechanical setup, a gas engine powering a pair of tracks with front skis or small front wheels, depending on the model, for steering. The term Imp was an apt choice, reflecting the vehicle's nimble nature. Now, even in deep powder, it could zip around like it owned the mountain, making it indispensable for search and rescue teams, utility workers checking remote power lines, and yes, those behind-the-scenes crews at ski resorts. Now, one big selling point was the Imp's user-friendly handling compared to heavier snow machines of the era. Operators found it straightforward to maintain, and the availability of spare parts was a big bonus. Because Theacol had robust industrial connections, often linked to government contracts, the brand could ensure a steady stream of quality components. They even sold these machines to research outposts, like those in the Arctic, where reliable transport over icy terrain was a life-or-death matter. Culturally, the Imp sits right in that sweet spot of mid-century American innovation, when folks look to science and engineering to tackle every problem, including the challenge of winter travel. That being said, these rigs weren't exactly built for comfort, yet their success in specialized tasks earned them plenty of fans among outdoor professionals and hobbyists. Over time, ownership of the Snowcat division changed hands. Theacol sold its Snowcat lines, eventually leading to brand names like DMC and LMC, but the design DNA all remained the same: compact, reliable, all-terrain winter vehicles. Today, you may still encounter a vintage Imp working a groomed trail or crossing a frozen lake to deliver supplies to a remote cabin. Their classic styling, functional design, and historical ties to a golden age of American engineering keep them in the hearts of snow enthusiasts. Many collectors devote serious elbow grease to restoring an Imp to its original glory, often painting them in bright colors and proudly showing them off at a winter event. At the end of the day, the Imp is a testament to the era's can-do spirit. It took cutting-edge industrial knowledge from rocket technology and put it on the ground. On snow, no less. That's the kind of out-of-the-box thinking that keeps these machines legendary and ensures that they won't be forgotten anytime soon. Number 2, the Armstead Snow Motor. If you've ever seen archival footage of a tractor replaced by a gigantic corkscrew-like cylinder, well, you were likely watching the Armstead Snow Motor in action. Patented in the 1920s, the Armstead Snow Motor took a standard Fordson tractor and transformed it into a screw-propelled machine. Instead of tracks or wheels, the snow motor would employ two massive spiral drums that were mounted in place of a rear wheel set. When they rotated, they literally drilled through the snow, propelling the vehicle forward. The concept dates back even earlier to experiments with screw propulsion for boats in shallow water or swampy terrain, but the Armstead team believed that it could be adapted for winter work, especially in rural areas that spent months blanketed in snow. The engineering was simpler than you might think. The front tires remained on the tractor, providing steering, while the powered rear drums would churn through snow that might have been several feet deep. It looked spectacular, too. This was one of those contraptions that made onlookers pause and gawk. Culturally, the Armstead Snow Motor captured that can-do creativity of the early 1900s, when inventors would throw big ideas at big problems and not worry too much about the aesthetics. The snow motor was featured in short promotional films demonstrating its ability to haul sleds across open fields or plow straight through a snowbank. While folks did find it impressive, the design had limitations. Steering in deep snow can be a bit tricky, and spiral drums aren't exactly practical on cleared roads. Plus, the upkeep of the unusual drive system can be pretty cumbersome. Now, historically, the Armstead snow motor didn't dominate the market. It was more of a curious innovation that popped into public consciousness through advertisements and traveling demonstrations. Yet it's frequently mentioned by vintage machinery enthusiasts, precisely because it was so distinct and so emblematic of the era's inventive spirit. Screws instead of wheels? Well, why not? Though it never became a mass-market product, the snow motor influenced the conversation around specialized winter vehicles. It got farmers, road crews, and local governments thinking, maybe we can modify standard equipment to handle extreme conditions. Well, that line of thought paved the way for more practical track conversions in subsequent decades. Today, the Armstead snow motor lives on in vintage videos and in the memories of those who relish mechanical oddities. Every so often, you'll see a restored version appear at a snowmobile show or be featured in an online clip, leaving audiences amazed at the sheer audacity of that spiral propulsion system. So if you're stuck in the driveway during a blizzard, wouldn't it be fun to fire up an old snow motor and simply corkscrew your way onto the main road? Number 1, the Tucker Snowcat. And here we are at the grand finale, the Tucker Snowcat. Of all the snow tractors out there, few can match Tucker's combination of historical significance, engineering prowess, and flat-out adventure credibility. From Antarctic expeditions to local rescue missions, these bright orange 4-track wonders blaze trails that few vehicles could follow. The Tucker Snowcat was invented by Elmer F. Tucker, who started the Tucker Snowcat Corporation in Medford, Oregon, back in the late 1940s. But the roots trace back even further. Tucker had been tinkering with snow vehicle design since the 20s. He was among the first to realize that the standard wheelbase systems just don't cut it in deep snow. So he set to work on experimenting with various track ideas. And by the 40s, his fledgling company was producing machines that used 4 independent track assemblies, 1 at each corner. This was a leap beyond single or dual track snow tractors and became Tucker's trademark design. But why 4 tracks? Well, Tucker reasoned that each corner track could pivot, enabling better maneuverability in difficult terrain. It also spread the vehicle's weight more evenly, reducing the risk of sinking into soft powder. Though prototypes were rough around the edges, the eventual production models proved that this radical approach could outperform many conventional snow vehicles of the era. One famous Tucker model was the Tucker Snowcat 443. Produced in the 50s. The 44 in its name denotes 4 tracks and a 4-cylinder engine, while the 3 indicated seating for 3 people. The machine was a compact workhorse, commonly used by surveyors, utility companies, and rescue squads. Over time, Tucker introduced larger models like the 743 or 942, increasing seating capacity, engine power, and cargo space. Early Snowcats often featured Chrysler industrial engines, which were known for their reliability. The rest of the drivetrain was similarly rugged. Tucker's engineers realized that their customers would be operating in extreme conditions, sub-zero temperatures, high-altitude snowfields, or miles away from the nearest service station. Everything from the cooling system to the track tensioners had to be bulletproof. This unwavering focus on reliability built Tucker's reputation as a go-to manufacturer for serious snow operations. Where Tucker Snowcats truly cemented their legend was in polar exploration. In the 50s and 60s, explorers and researchers in Antarctica needed dependable transport for traversing ice shelves and glaciers. The Tucker's 4-track system shined in those treacherous environments, handling hidden crevices and uneven ice better than many competing designs. Stories abound of Tucker Snowcats chugging away in minus 50-degree wind chills, hauling scientists and gear across hundreds of miles of uncharted terrain. Photographs from these expeditions became iconic, bright orange snowcats forging ahead through a sea of white. Perhaps the more notable instance was the Commonwealth Trans-Antarctic Expedition, led by Dr. Vivian Fuchs. The Tucker Snowcat helped them cross the continent via the South Pole, something previously deemed impossible. Those same pictures and newsreels captured imaginations worldwide, proving that if you had a Tucker Snowcat, there was almost nowhere on the Earth that you couldn't go. Talking about Tucker Snowcats without geeking out on the technical details would be a missed opportunity. Each track assembly is built around a pontoon-like structure that pivots, allowing the vehicle to crawl over uneven ground. With differential gearing, each track could move at different speeds, which was critical for tight turns and slippery conditions. Compare that to a typical dual-track Snowcat, which relies more on skid steering. It's effective, but tough on the track system. Now, later models introduced refinements like hydraulic track adjustments for tension and tilt, better heating and insulation for the cab, and more powerful engines. One hallmark of Tucker design was an emphasis on modular construction. so operators could swap out parts relatively easily, which was a blessing if you were stationed in somewhere like Antarctica or on a remote mountaintop facility. The Snowcat's bright color scheme was more than just a style choice. High visibility in a blizzard or whiteout is crucial for rescue crews and explorers. The retro Tucker orange became a brand signature, often accompanied by a charming boxy cab design that just screams old-school industrial in the best way possible. Now, for a lot of folks, hearing the name Tucker Snowcat evokes images of old 1950s documentaries with pipe-smoking explorers and fur-lined parkas that were riding across endless snowfields. In truth, these machines carry a sense of rugged romance, like a mechanical dog sled. If you grew up in an area hammered by winter storms, you might have seen a Snowcat clearing remote roads or providing essential transport when everything else was snowed in. Over the decades, many local governments, emergency services, and utility companies relied on Tucker's contraptions as their go-to winter rescue vehicle. This is where Tucker's cultural footprint really shines. They weren't mass-marketing cars, they were specialized tools. Yet their unique look and heroic exploits in the world's harshest environments gave them a larger-than-life aura. Even Hollywood picked up on this. Snowcat sometimes would make a cameo appearance in a movie featuring a snowy setting. People remembered those distinctive 4 tracks and the plucky orange exterior, which helped cement Tucker's place in pop culture as the unstoppable snow machine. Now, as the decades rolled on, Tucker kept refining its product line. The family-owned vibe of the company meant that they stayed close to their niche, focusing almost exclusively on tracked vehicles for over-snow travel. While competition came from other brands, especially in the ski resort market, Tucker never wavered from the 4-track principle. Today, modern Snowcats sport upgraded diesel engines, advanced hydraulics, and creature comforts like heated seats. But if you park a new Tucker next to a vintage 1950s model, you'll see a clear lineage. The soul of the original design is certainly still there. For enthusiasts of vintage machinery, restoring a Tucker Snowcat can be a labor of love. Parts can be challenging to locate, but dedicated communities share tips and resources online. Seeing a perfectly maintained older model cruising across fresh powder is a sight that harks back to another time. A time when mechanical ingenuity was prized, and when forging a path through uncharted snow demanded both bravery and brilliance. In a world obsessed with flashy SUVs and high-tech electric crossovers, the Tucker Snowcat stands as a timeless symbol of function over form. Now, while it might look quirky by modern auto design standards, every bolt, bracket, and track pivot serves a purpose: to conquer the harshest winter conditions. It's a reminder that some of the greatest leaps in transportation history came from people that were working in small shops, tinkering, testing, and trusting their gut. The Tucker Snowcat also exemplifies the idea that if you solve a major logistical problem, like traveling across Antarctic ice, your invention might just earn a place in the annals of exploration. Furthermore, Snowcats underscore how critical specialized vehicles can be to industries that often fly under the radar: mountain rescue, remote research, telecommunications maintenance, and more. Without these track-driven machines, much of that behind-the-scenes work would just grind to a halt each winter. From the 50s up to today, Tucker remains a cornerstone in an area that demands innovation as much as it does durability. And when all is said and done, these 5 American snow tractors highlight the sheer grit and genius that's poured into solving the harsh challenges of winter. From corkscrew-driven contraptions to Antarctic behemoths, each machine found its place in America's snowy backgrounds and beyond. We hope you found this video helpful, and maybe it even sparked a bit of nostalgia. And if you enjoyed learning about these vintage contraptions, be sure to subscribe. There's plenty more to come, from rare vehicles to classic gear breakdowns. Until next time, stay warm out there, and remember, winter is no match for a well-built snow tractor. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.